Hi y'all, bonjour, hola. So in today's lesson, as promised, I'm going to do a Valentine flyer. So without much ado, let's jump right into this tutorial. So guys, before we start, I want to apologize. For some reason, when I was setting my resolution, it picked up a 72 instead of 300 resolution. So when I start the tutorial, you will realize that the resolution is not as high as this final image, which I created before I did the tutorial. So please, if you're setting your canvas, make sure that your canvas size is 6 by 8 and your resolution is 300. So with that said, let's jump into the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is to create the canvas size. So you want to go to File, click on New, and you want to change your dimension to inches. And we're going to choose a 6. Height is going to be 8. And I'm going to go ahead and click Create. So we're going to go to our folder. And I'm going to, first of all, drag in this background. And I'm going to move this up. And I'm going to scale this. So we have something like this. And basically hide the bottom piece. So I'm going to double click to accept. Now, once you bring in your file, if you don't see your transform activated, make sure your auto select is checked as well as show transform control. Now, if you have an older version, you need to press Command T to activate your transform. So with this set, we're going to go back to our folder and we are going to drag in this one. And I'm going to set that right on top. And I'm just going to scale it like this. I'm going to double click. Now we want the background to be seen. So basically we want the top image to be a bit transparent. So to do that, you want to go to your layers panel, click on that layer, go to your opacity. Let's reduce it to about a 50. So with this set for us, we want to go back again and we want to bring in our subject. So I'm going to drag and drop and we're going to move our subject up like that. I'm going to double click to accept. Now, I normally use the quick action command to take off the background, which is in your property. You scroll down and you want to make sure that your layer is selected. Convert the layer to a smart object. Click yes. Now you can go back to your property and you can see remove background and we can do it that way. But I'm going to press Command Z to go back. So if you don't have Photoshop 2020 or 21, you can use your quick selection tool. So to do that, you want to first of all make sure that layer is selected. Go to select or your magic wand, which is the 4th tool. Now you want to click on your quick selection option. Then you want to click on select subject. Now Photoshop does a very good job to make a good selection. So you can just go down. So you can go down to your layers panel and add a layer mask. So it basically hides everything else that is not selected. Now, if you use a different image and your subject hair is not well refined, I will put a link below so that you can look at a previous tutorial on how to take off the background and also how to fix, the selection of the hair so that your selection is as good as this. What we want to do is to blur in the bottom portion of our subject. So to do that and to get a good result, we want to make a selection of our layer mask. So hold down your command, select the thumbnail of your layer mask. Now you see that your subject has been selected. Now click on the thumbnail for your image and press Command C to make a copy. Now, if you are on a Windows, is Control C to make a copy. Now we want to add a new layer, so you can press on the plus icon to make a new layer. Now press Command V or just paste it, and now we have our subject without the layer mask. So we want to basically delete this, so you can drag this to your trash can or you can press delete on your keyboard. So now we basically have our subject without the layer mask. I can increase it a little, set it in place. We want to basically blur the bottom of our subject. So what I'm going to do is that you want to click on your layer, add a layer mask. Now this layer mask is clean, so we're going to pick up our brush tool. Make sure your foreground is black. We all know black hides, white reveals when working with layer masks. So you want to pick up your brush tool. You want to make sure that you go to your brush options, take your hardness all the way to 0, and you can go ahead and begin to brush. Now, if your brush head doesn't show, it means your cap locks is on. So if I turn my cap locks on, my brush head basically disappears. So you want to turn off your cap locks, and you also want to reduce your brush head. To do that, you press your left bracket to reduce, press your right bracket to increase it. Now we can go ahead and begin to basically paint over the bottom portion to basically blur it in. Now what happens is that if you look at the layer mask, it's basically hiding that portion. So you basically haven't lost that part. If you maybe brush too much and you want to bring some back, you need to flip your foreground to white. Now when you paint, it basically shows up. Now this is not what we want, so let's go back and basically hide a few. So I just flipped it back to the black and I did that. So with this set, we want to go back to our folder and we want to bring in this image. We're going to set it right there. Now it will be best if this didn't have a background, but since it does, we can go ahead and still use our quick selection tool to take off the background, or we can this time go to property and use our quick action. Now this file is not a smart object, so we need to convert that first. So click on convert to layers, say yes. And now when we go back to our property, we can see remove background. So click on it once and it basically takes it off. Now there are a few areas that we have imperfection, but we are not worried about that because we are going to basically move this all the way down to something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and scale it just a little bit and set it down, or move it up a little, double click, and we're going to move our subject up just a little so we can still see our subject hand. It's just, it adds a nice touch. So we're going to do something like this. Now notice that a bit of the roses are gone, as well as we're still seeing a bit of the background. So we're going to zoom in and we want to make sure that we click on our layer mask, because we want to hide the white area. We want to also make sure that our foreground is black. We're going to pick up our brush tool, but before we do that, we want to make a selection. So pick up your lasso tool and you want to basically just, eyeball it, basically trim in this area like so. And I'm going to cut this area as well. So you have a selection of the area you want to clean. So pick up your brush tool and paint this area in. Command D to deselect. We're going to zoom out and we want to go to this side and do the same thing. Now we are going to pick up our lasso tool and you can basically sort of gauge where you think the rose is going to be. And we can go ahead and just close up this, pick up your brush and basically use that to basically to paint. But notice that when we painted, we actually lost our petal. But that's not what we want. Command Z to come back. Now you want to make sure your foreground is white and not black. Now black hides, white reveals. So if we want to reveal this portion, we want to make sure that our foreground is what? Is white. You got it. You were paying attention. Good for you. Clap for yourself. Okay, so with this done, we're going to press Command D to deselect. Now, when you zoom out, this is basically what we have. So the next thing we're going to do is to go to our folder and we are going to drag in petals. Yes, it's Valentine. We need some petals and roses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this image. So you want to hold one end, and then again, because we have our transform activated, you can easily hold one end and just scale it. So we're going to do it like this, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it like so. And you can have yours in the reverse, however you want to have it. That is up to you. I'm going to double click. Oops, there's a petal on his eye. Don't worry, we'll get it off. So before we do anything else, I'm going to click on our petal and we want to make a copy. So Command J to make a copy. We want to take this copy all the way to the bottom, and the top one, what we're going to do is that we're going to go to filter and blur, Gaussian blur, and we want to give it this almost like is moving, like it's like there's a movement of the petals, so it's sort of almost blurred out in some areas. So with this set, we're going to click OK, and I'm going to turn off the bottom one. So this is the effect we have. It's very nice. So in order to get rid of the petals in areas that we don't want, we want to go ahead and add a layer mask so we can hide some areas. And we do that because this is a non-destructive technique, so that in case you change your mind and you want to turn, or you want some of the petals to show up in other areas, you can use your black or white inverse to basically turn it back on. So we are going to click on our brush tool, and since we want to hide, what do? We want our foreground to be black and not white. You got it. So I'm going to reduce my brush head using my left bracket, and obviously we don't want his eyes hidden, so we can take that off. We can take it off this area as well. On her face, that area is not that bad, but let's just get rid of that. And we can take it off the heart rose so we can see the full shape like that, and something like this. Now I'm going to take it off her hair and also his hair, so it's clean, but we still have the effect, you know, around. I'm going to go ahead and click on my bubble, and I'm going to move it in a little so we have this cool effect like that. So with this set for us, what we want to do next is that we want to go ahead and begin to type in the information that we want to convey to our audience. So with this set for us, we want to go back to turn on this other layer, and we are going to move that on top, and then I'm going to zoom out, and this time we just want to go ahead and scale it so we have something like this, and I'm going to scale it a little bit more so we have that. So I'm going to double click, and obviously we want to get rid of a lot of these, so we can do the same thing. Add a layer mask, pick up your brush tool with your foreground as black. We can paint to hide most of this, so it's not too much, but we want to basically have a few petals that are showing up a little bit more. So with our background all set, now we can go ahead and add our text. So what I'm going to do is pick up my text tool, pick up my type tool, make sure my foreground is white. Now it's Valentines, so it's going to be pink, red, and mostly white. So we're going to go ahead and pick up our type tool, and we're going to use this font, Timberland, and we're just going to type in Valentine. So I'm going to type in Now we want to go ahead and type in celebration. So I'm going to change my font this time to the Agagi Pro, and I'm just going to type in celebration. So we want to also go ahead and put the main theme on the bottom. I'm going to just go ahead and type everything lowercase. So I'm going to go ahead, use my move tool, and we're going to scale this. It's obviously behind our subject, so we're going to move this all the way up to the top. And the spacing is too big. So we're going to go to our property, and under your property, you see the A over A. That is the spacing depth. You want to decrease it. So you can just use your cursor to just move towards the left, and it will reduce it. Now, if you want, you can also type it in. I'm going to select this and move it down, and we're going to go ahead and basically scale it a little bit more. Now, what I want to do is that I want to put my love beneath my petals, so it's basically sitting right on top. So I'm going to move that all the way down to the layer with the heart, so that my petals basically is sitting on top of my love. Now I have these other petals that are blocking the text, so we want to figure out which one is, and it's the second one. So click on the layer mask, pick up your brush tool, and you want to make sure that you basically clean up this area so we can see the love. Love in the air. I'm sorry, guys. I'm excited. It's almost Valentine. So, guys, with this all set, we want to go ahead and also type in the name of the church. And this time, as I always do, I make up the name. So this time we're going to go with Grace Gospel Church in Christ. So I'm going to type in Grace. I want to go ahead and add a shadow effect to our text. So you want to double click on that layer. Your layers panel comes up. Now you have different options, but we just want the drop shadow. So click on that drop shadow and notice that it's giving us a white shadow. We don't want that. So you want to click on that style. It opens up a layer style options. The first thing we want to do is change the background, change our shadow to black. So choose anywhere here, click OK. Now you can see it, but the problem is way off. So we want to move our shadow and distance so it goes right beneath. Now, the next thing that we're going to add is basically the logo of the church. So I have a logo already, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that in. So I went ahead to bring my logo in. I'm going to move it all the way up, so it's at the top, and I'm going to move it all the way up, so it's at the top like that. And I'm going to scale it down a little. I'm going to double click. So with this all set, we want to go ahead and add the place that this event will take place. So I'm going to pick up my type tool again, and I'm just going to go ahead and basically type in the information. I'm going to zoom out because I already made a copy of it. I'm going to go ahead and scale it. info on the bottom. Now, if it's too dark, you can make it all white so it's more visible. So I'm going to flip my foreground so I pick up on the white, and there you have it. It's showing up. Now, if you want to add a little bit more shadow, you can go to your layers panel, double click and add a shadow so it basically stands out. You can reduce your shadow distance and click OK. Pick up your marquee, eclipse marquee tool, and you want to basically draw a circle like that. And we want to fill that in, so you can basically click on your plus icon, create a new layer, use your paint bucket, and you can basically fill that in. Command D to deselect. We can reduce it a little so it remains in the bubble. So we have something like this. Now you want to basically pick up your type tool and you want to type in your date. So this is too big, so we are going to reduce this to about a 30. We're going to type in February. So guys, once you have everything set, the last thing that you want to do is to add a color lookup and a camera raw effect. You want to click on your top image, go to your adjustment, and you want to choose a color lookup. Now go into your property and change your load 3D to 3-strip color lookup. And you notice that it really bumps up the color and everything blends in very well. Now, we don't want obviously our petal on the hand of our subject. So I'm going to click on my layer mask for that layer. And with my brush foreground as white, we want to basically paint to reveal the hand of our subject. Now, the last thing we're going to do is to add the camera raw effect. So click on your top layer. In this case is the color lookup. Hold down Shift, Option, Command E. It makes one file for you. Now you want to go to Filter and you want to locate Camera Raw Filter. Now you can play with a few of these. You can increase the exposure. You can increase the contrast. You can take the exposure back a little. You can even play with the temperature. It's all up to you. I'm going to increase the vibrance and saturation so it's a little bit more richer. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So guys, you can see this is the before, just slightly muted. This is more richer. And if we even go back to the original, you see it's more pinkish. But with the color lookup, it makes it a bit more reddish. And with your camera raw, it gives it a better punch. So guys, this brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope that you found this tutorial very helpful. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you back with another Valentine tutorial, hopefully next week. So till then, guys, be blessed. Bye, y'all.